Have you ever felt a strange emptiness after a conversation? A sense that you gave away more than you intended? A subtle hollowness that has nothing to do with being disliked, but everything to do with being seen through, with being read too easily. This is not a failure of personality. It is a state of being psychologically transparent. And in the world as it is, this transparency is not a virtue, but a profound vulnerability. What if the rules of social power, the unspoken language of influence and control, were written 500 years ago, and you've been playing the game without knowing its most basic principles? We are often taught to see figures like Machiavelli as villains, as advocates for cynical cruelty. But that is a profound misreading. He was not a monster. He was a pragmatist, a political scientist who decoded the hidden operating system of human nature. He saw with absolute clarity that true control, lasting power, is not a matter of force but of information. It is about who knows what and when. Every single day in your honest desire to connect, to be understood, to keep the peace, you are unknowingly exposing three critical gaps in your own defense. Three vulnerabilities so fundamental, they act as open doors, inviting others to walk into your mind and rearrange the furniture for their own benefit. This journey we are about to take is not about becoming manipulative. It is about sealing these three fatal vulnerabilities. It is about reclaiming your personal sovereignty, your mental peace, and the psychic energy you've been leaking for years without knowing why. It is about learning to become unreadable. If you have ever felt that subtle, inexplicable drain after an interaction, that sense of being psychically lighter in a way that feels like a loss, just take a moment to acknowledge it. A simple recognition. I feel this. It is the first step toward reclaiming what is yours. Let us begin with the first secret, a paradox that many of us have felt, but few have understood. Notice how sharing your biggest career goal, your most cherished life dream, sometimes feels anticlimactic. The moment the words leave your mouth, the vibrant energy that fueled the dream seems to dissipate, leaving behind a faint residue of obligation. You share it for encouragement, for connection, but what you often receive is a subtle shift in the dynamic, a new weight you now have to carry. Why does this happen? Why does revealing your destination so often make the journey harder, not easier? Here we uncover the first secret of sovereignty. You must guard your ultimate ambition. When you broadcast your end goal, the promotion you're desperate for, the business you want to build, the personal transformation you seek, you are not just sharing a dream. You are handing everyone around you an emotional lever. This happens because our deep psychological need for validation compels us to share. We want our ambitions to be seen and affirmed. But in seeking that affirmation, you reveal with perfect clarity what you value most. You give them the one piece of information that matters above all else, your primary motivation. And with that knowledge, they can subtly, almost unconsciously, begin to steer you. They can dangle the prize in front of you to get you to do their bidding. They can offer praise that is conditional on you, moving in a direction that benefits them. They can introduce doubt, framing their concerns as just trying to help, when in reality, they are testing the strength of your resolve, or perhaps even protecting their own position. Your private fuel source, the quiet knowledge of where you're going, is transformed. It ceases to be your own internal compass and becomes a public tool, a handle for others to grip. It makes you predictable. And in the complex game of human dynamics, predictability is a synonym for vulnerability. You become a character in their story, a pawn moved by the promise of your own declared prize. We saw a perfect, large-scale example of this recently. Think of a major tech company like OpenAI. For months, they broadcast a grand destination, the creation of a superintelligent AI, a ChatGPT-5 that would revolutionize science and medicine. They revealed their ultimate ambition to the world. The hype was immense. But when they presented their progress, the system failed at basic tasks, unable to solve simple math problems or follow logical instructions. The public backlash was immediate and brutal. Why? Because they had announced a godlike destination. And when the reality fell short, they weren't just seen as having a technical problem. They were seen as failing to reach their self-declared finish line. Their ambition became the very stick the world used to beat them with. They made themselves predictable, and their failure was magnified 100-fold. The solution is not to become ambitionless. Far from it. The solution is to move with unwavering purpose, but without broadcasting the final coordinates. Let your actions speak. Let your competence, your dedication, and your results create a sense of curiosity, even awe. Let people wonder, what are they building? Where are they going? This forces them to react to what you do, not what you say you will do. You maintain the element of surprise. You keep them on the back foot. When your ultimate objective is a mystery, you cannot be preempted. When your true desire is known only to you, it cannot be used as leverage against you. You are guided by an internal map that no one else can read. This is not deception. It is wisdom. Now, we move deeper into the self, to a place far more sensitive and far more dangerous to reveal. Have you ever, in a moment of closeness, confided a deep insecurity to someone? A past failure that still haunts you, a fear of inadequacy, a wound from your childhood. You share it as an offering of trust, a gesture of true intimacy, driven by the profound psychological need to have your whole self, including the broken parts, accepted. What Carl Jung would call your shadow. And for a time, it feels like the right thing to have done. But then, weeks or months later, in the heat of a disagreement, you hear a faint echo of your confession. That very topic, that specific vulnerability, is subtly reintroduced, not as a point of empathy, but as a tool to destabilize you, to throw you off balance and win the argument. Why does vulnerability, so often praised in our culture as a strength, so frequently become the source of our greatest and most enduring pain? This leads us to the second, and perhaps most vital, secret of sovereignty. Your deepest fears and past wounds must be your most guarded territory. In the act of sharing your shadow, you are often doing something far more perilous than building a bridge. You are providing a detailed blueprint of your emotional triggers. You are, in effect, teaching the other person exactly how to inflict maximum psychological damage with minimum effort. They now know the precise button to push to induce guilt. They know the phrase that will ignite your deepest fears. They know the memory that can instantly flood you with shame. They have learned how to bypass your rational mind and plug directly into your emotional core. This act of self-exposure leaves you exposed, not just in that moment, but in all future moments. Your insecurities are no longer your private battles to be healed on your own terms. They become tactical assets in someone else's emotional arsenal. They can manufacture a crisis within you, a sudden surge of anxiety, a wave of self-doubt, to gain control of a situation, to make you more compliant, or simply to reassert their dominance. Imagine a man who confides in his partner about his deep-seated fear of failure, stemming from a critical parent. In a future argument about finances, she might say, "You're being just as reckless as your father always said you were." The statement is not just an insult. It is a precision-guided missile aimed directly at the heart of his oldest wound. His ability to think logically about the budget is instantly obliterated, replaced by a surge of childhood pain and self-doubt. He is no longer an equal partner in a discussion. He is a wounded child, and she, in that moment, holds all the power. The sovereign act is not to pretend these wounds don't exist. It is not to build a wall of ice around your heart and deny your own humanity. The solution is to practice a clear distinction: private healing and public composure. Your inner work is sacred. It is for you, your journal, your therapist, or perhaps the one or two souls in your life who have proven over decades that they are custodians of secrets, not collectors of leverage. For the rest of the world, composure is your shield. This does not mean being inauthentic. It means understanding that not everyone has earned the right to witness your reconstruction. You can be warm, you can be kind, you can be engaging, but your fault lines, the very architecture of your deepest anxieties, are not for public display. They are not bargaining chips for intimacy. True strength is not showing your wounds to everyone. It is knowing who is worthy of seeing them and having the discipline to keep them protected from everyone else. Let us now turn to the third and final vulnerability, the one that masquerades as intelligence and competence. Think of a time you were excited about a new project or a life change. You had a plan, a brilliant step-by-step strategy, and in your enthusiasm, you explained it in meticulous detail to a colleague, a friend, or a family member. You laid out the sequence, the logic, the clever little twists you had devised. And then, one of two things happened. Either you saw someone else implement a suspiciously similar idea first, or you found unexpected, almost nonsensical resistance at every single step of your execution. Why does explaining your strategy in such detail so often lead to its failure? What is the invisible force that turns your brilliant blueprint into a roadmap for your own defeat? This unveils the third secret of sovereignty. Never reveal your entire strategy. The urge to explain our how is deeply ingrained. It stems from a desire to be seen as intelligent, strategic, and in control. We crave the admiration of others, not just for the result, but for the elegance of our process. We want them to say, "Wow, that's a brilliant plan." In that moment, we trade a decisive tactical advantage for a fleeting dose of ego gratification. When you reveal your full plan, it loses its most potent, most powerful element, the element of surprise. The consequences are immediate and severe. You arm your rivals. You give them the time and the information they need to prepare a countermove. They can anticipate your actions, lay traps, and disrupt your timeline. If your plan is truly innovative, you have just given it away. They can copy your method, launching a cheaper, faster version, and stealing the market before you've even begun. But the danger isn't just from rivals. It also comes from so-called allies. We reveal our plans out of a fear of conflict, hoping that by over-explaining, we can achieve harmony and get everyone on board. But when you share a detailed plan, you invite scrutiny and opinion from people who lack your vision and your context. They will pick it apart, not out of malice, but out of their own anxieties. Are you sure step 3 is wise? What if step 5 doesn't work? They will sow seeds of doubt, not because your plan is flawed, but because your clarity makes them feel insecure about their own lack of direction. You find yourself defending your strategy instead of executing it. The forward momentum is lost in a mire of unnecessary debate. The truly sovereign approach is to be a magician. A magician captivates the audience with a stunning result. The rabbit appears from the hat. The woman is sawn in half and restored. But the mechanism, the intricate system of mirrors and hidden compartments, remains a complete mystery. If the magician explained the trick beforehand, the magic would be gone. There would be no wonder, no awe, no power. There would only be a clinical, boring procedure. Apply this to your life and work. Share the vision, the grand what. We are going to build the most reliable product on the market. I am transitioning into a new, more fulfilling career. This inspires people and enrolls them in the result. But the how, the specific steps, the timeline, the unique methods you will employ, that remains your secret. You do not distribute the full blueprint. This preserves your flexibility. If an unforeseen obstacle appears, you can change your strategy without having to explain or justify the change to a committee of onlookers. You are free to adapt. Most importantly, it ensures that you, and only you, are in control of the sequence of events. You are the architect, the director, the one who knows the full story. Show them the result. Let them wonder how you did it. We have now uncovered the 3 great secrets: guarding your destination, protecting your wounds, and hiding your strategy. But simply knowing them is not enough. We must face the force that compels us to give them away. This entire process, this slow, methodical erosion of your sovereignty, is driven by one fatal, inescapable equation. Your predictability equals your manipulability. Every secret you share, every ambition you declare, every wound you expose, every plan you detail, makes your next move easier for others to calculate. Every reaction that you allow to become automated, praise leads to more disclosure, friction leads to over-explaining, makes you more predictable. And once you are predictable, you are controllable. The true danger, then, is not the other person's external strength. It is not their cleverness or their ruthlessness. The true danger is the predictability you willingly provide them. They are not playing chess against a grandmaster. They are playing against a person who tells them 3 moves in advance exactly where they are going to go. You cannot win a game that you are teaching your opponent how to play. The code for your own undoing is written in your own hand, fueled by your deepest, most human needs. To reclaim your power, you must first stop being the author of your own defeat. If revealing our secrets is the poison, what then is the antidote? Is the answer to become a paranoid, distrustful hermit, sealed off from the world in a fortress of suspicion? To live a life devoid of intimacy and connection? No. The answer is something far more elegant, far more powerful, and far more difficult. It is not a list of actions, but the cultivation of a new internal state. The solution is not a set of rules to follow, but a fundamental shift in your way of being in the world. We shall call this state conscious obscurity. It is the art of being present, warm, and engaged, yet fundamentally unreadable. This is not about lying. Liars are easily caught, and their need to maintain a web of falsehoods makes them brittle and anxious. Conscious obscurity is about mastering the space between a question and your response. It is about realizing that you are under no obligation to answer every question asked of you, at least not in the direct way the questioner expects. We must redefine silence. In our noisy, oversharing culture, silence is often seen as passive, awkward, or weak. This is a profound misunderstanding. When you meet a probing question, "So, what's your next career move?" Or, "Why do you seem a bit distant lately?" With a moment of calm, observant silence, you are not retreating. You are holding up a mirror. You are creating a space that forces the other person to sit with the intention behind their own question. More often than not, they will become uncomfortable and rush to fill the silence themselves, often revealing why they were asking in the first place. This is an offensive tool. It starves the opportunistic person of the emotional reaction they need to fuel their game. To cultivate this, you must develop a new internal process. When faced with a question that feels even slightly intrusive, you do not react. Instead, you practice a 3-step mental model. 1. Pause. Do not answer immediately. Take a breath. This simple act breaks the stimulus-response cycle and pulls you out of autopilot. 2. Interrogate. In that brief pause, ask yourself, what is the real question here? What information is this person actually seeking? What is their intent? 3. Formulate. Based on your internal interrogation, formulate a response that reveals nothing critical while maintaining social grace. It can be a polite redirection. That's an interesting question. For now, I'm just focused on doing my current job well. It can be a gentle, philosophical deflection. You know, I've found that plans are best laid in pencil, not in ink. The specific words matter less than the principle. You are participating in the conversation without surrendering your information. Every time you successfully navigate an interaction this way, you are doing more than just defending yourself. You are actively reclaiming the psychic energy that was previously leaking out. Each pause, each conscious response, is like sealing a crack in the foundation of your inner world. You will begin to feel a new sense of solidity, a quiet confidence that comes not from having all the answers, but from knowing you no longer have to give them all away. You are no longer a resource to be mined. You are a sovereign territory, with borders that you, and you alone, control. The moment you begin to truly guard your inner world, an uncomfortable silence will fall. It will be different from the strategic silence you now wield as a tool. This will be a social silence. People who were accustomed to your transparency, who fed on your constant stream of information and emotional reactions, will sense the change immediately. The doors they once walked through are now closed. The levers they once pulled are no longer connected to anything. They will say, "You've changed." And they will be right. This is the rebirth. This is where the journey from a psychologically transparent open book to a sovereign self is completed. The initial feeling we spoke of, that sense of being drained and hollow after interactions, is slowly replaced by a profound sense of inner fullness. Your energy, once squandered on managing the perceptions of others, now pools within you. It becomes a reservoir of power for your own goals, your own healing, your own life. You must learn to redefine the solitude that may follow. This is a feature, not a bug. This emerging solitude is not abandonment. It is the sovereign solitude of the strong. It is a powerful, natural filtering mechanism. It painlessly and automatically removes those who were only in your life for their own utility. The people who were interested in your vulnerability for leverage, your ambition for manipulation, or your plans for exploitation will simply drift away. They will find your new, unreadable self to be uninteresting, even frustrating. Their departure creates a space, and into that space can come something new. Relationships based not on utility, but on substance. Connections with people who do not need to read your mind to respect your presence. People who are drawn not to your predictability, but to your depth. This all culminates in the ultimate payoff, a fundamental identity shift. You stop being a reactor, a being constantly shaped by the demands, probes, and expectations of others. You become a creator, an actor, a force that moves from its own centered will. Your sense of self-worth is no longer tied to external validation, no longer a fragile thing that must be reinforced by the praise or agreement of others. It is generated internally, from the quiet, unshakable knowledge of who you are beneath the layers of social performance. You become valuable because you are no longer endlessly available. You are respected because you are no longer fully known. There is a mystery to you, a depth that implies a rich inner world that is yours and yours alone. This is the final stage of the transformation. You have not built walls to keep the world out. You have cultivated a garden within, and you have finally, decisively, taken ownership of the gate. You have absorbed the knowledge. You understand the secrets, the psychology, and the antidote. But knowledge without action is merely intellectual entertainment. It is a pleasant way to pass the time, but it changes nothing. The real transformation, the moment of rebirth, happens now, with your first conscious decision to act differently. It is crucial to acknowledge that these first steps will be profoundly uncomfortable. Choosing strategic silence when your every instinct screams to over-explain will feel like selfishness. Guarding a new ambition that you are burning to share will feel like paranoia. Setting a boundary with someone who is used to your complete openness will feel like aggression. This discomfort is the deprogramming process. It is the withdrawal symptom from a lifetime addiction to pleasing others, to seeking validation, to keeping a peace that was never truly peaceful, but was merely the quiet of your own surrender. Enduring this discomfort is the price of freedom. You must walk through this fire to be forged anew. As you persist, you will begin to notice tangible changes in the dynamics around you. People will test you. They will try to provoke the old, reactive you. A colleague might make a passive-aggressive comment, expecting you to become defensive. A family member might ask an intrusive question, expecting you to justify yourself. When you meet these tests, not with the old reaction, but with calm, conscious unavailability, a quiet pause, a gentle redirection, a simple, "I'm not going to discuss that," something miraculous happens. Their power over you evaporates in an instant. The line of energy they had cast toward you goes slack. In its place, a new dynamic begins to emerge. Familiarity, which so often breeds contempt, is replaced by respect. It may be grudging respect at first, but it is respect nonetheless. You are no longer a source of emotional supply, a predictable well from which they can draw reactions. You become a presence they must reckon with, a person whose boundaries are clear and whose inner state is their own. This is the embodiment of the grand payoff. It is not about winning more arguments. It is not about controlling others or becoming a master manipulator yourself. It is the unshakable, profound peace that comes from knowing your inner world is inviolable. Your happiness is no longer contingent on anyone else's approval. Your emotional state is no longer a puppet, dancing on strings held by those around you. You become the sole author of your own experience. We have reached the end of our journey of knowledge and the beginning of your journey of practice. This concludes not with a question, but with an invitation for a declaration. This is your first act in your new identity. It is a conscious choice, a line drawn in the sand. The choice has been made. To affirm this transition, to mark the moment you stopped being a predictable book and started becoming an unpredictable force, write your declaration. A simple, powerful statement of intent. I am the sovereign.